Not really that the netting is badly bent. Well, I mean, it's slightly bent, but we're going to clamp all that down tight. Like where you got this little void. We're basically going to put the bolts in the corners with some washers or brackets like that on there and just pinch everything down real nice and tight before we get any kind of welding going. Like this is where there's no clamp. I don't know if you can really see that. The daylight through that. Not so bad. Then you come over here. And no daylight. Except for where they had the little weld spots. Notch out for welds. But yeah, it's pulling it down really tight, even on the sides. Pulling it down really tight. So yeah, I think I'm gonna kind of call it for today. And it's looking pretty neat so far. It's going together actually faster than I thought. So. Not too bad. One thing I wasn't too sure about, this is the back side of the table, but you can see where the laser exit cuts it. I kind of was hoping they would have finished that, but it's not a big deal. It'll never bother you on the back side. The front side is good and smooth for the cooling holes and everything. And those right there where everything pokes through, and you will actually weld right in the middle and just weld straight across there, just to connect those little, I can get it back in focus, those little tabs to the top of the table. And then other than that, you just come along and come in and hit a few little welds here and there. You don't weld it completely. They don't recommend welding the table completely. You just, by the instructions, you'll just be doing little like 1 inch or 2 inch little welds, probably more or less 1 inch welds. And just securing it, because they'll lay in just like that. Well, like that, and they will weld to all 4 corners once I get the side pieces on. They'll weld into those little tabs there, and then the legs will bolt on to that. They list them as 1/4 inch steel, which I'm pretty sure this is 1/4 inch here and 1/4 inch there, but that to me does not sound like 1/4 inch, so that's probably a little thinner, but it's straight, square tube. It's not gonna really bother anything. And these, I'm assuming, are slightly adjustable. I can't turn it right now, but there is a threaded nut in there. So this has a thread shaft, and it will, I'm trying to get it loose for you, but I can't get it loose. But it will slide up and down. So you will have a little bit of adjustment if you need it. Other than that, it's just these big beefy rollers and a lot of points on them. Get some more all thread, get this thing clamped down good. All right, I didn't bore y'all with all the clamps, but I got everything all clamped up yesterday. Those are all the center brackets that I was putting in on the last video. Got all those put in, and then put these sides up. Besides, shorter ones were pretty easy. The long ones, I had to have my wife help me with them, getting them all lined up and locked in, because you got to line up all these pieces with all the little tabs all the way down. I had to start on one end and let the piece droop a little bit and get everything lined up, and kind of tap these left or right, get them lined up and knock them in the hole as I went. I just clamped them all down. I had to go back and make another trip to Harbor Freight because I didn't have enough clamps. So now I got plenty of clamps. But yeah, we're gonna get started welding on it today, and probably put a little time-lapse video on welding it up, because I'm sure that's gonna be boring. But I'm just gonna get a bunch of heavy tacks on the bottom side, and then we'll try to get this thing flipped over and see how she does, see how flat it is. plates in there. I feel like they're actually made a little bit too tight, because I had the entire table pinched in there all the way around. You've seen how I had it clamped. And these things come up about an 1/8 inch too large both ways when you do that. So if I would have basically put them in as I was putting the table together, it may have made this corner a little bit wide. So actually, besides having to shave those down an 1/8 inch on, you know, 2 different sides, it probably worked out better. But I finally got them in there. Just wanted to show you how I had everything welded up too. As you can see, it's just kind of little one or so, 1.5 inch tacks here and there all the way around. You don't want to over weld it. I would usually put like 2 on one side, 1 on the other in the middle, and vice versa all the way around. Once I moved all my clamps, I went back in and refinished welding some of the corners where the clamps were in my way. But yeah, I just noticed I missed a weld right there. Gotta get that. Yeah, everything went in pretty decent. I'm fixing to put the legs on now. They're just gonna bolt in place. You can see they just bolt right through. That'll be my last step before I have to pick this thing up and move it. So let's see how that goes. Go back in and do all these little weld spots in. I welded it pretty good on the bottom, so I'm not even sure if I'm gonna do that. I don't know if you can see it. There's probably a little tiny bit of a gap right there. Which after I weld on a few hundred times, it'll probably go away. Yeah, there's a little bit of a high spot in the middle. I was a little worried about that because there's nothing supporting the middle. Hoping once I get some heat on it and get it going, it probably won't be too bad. But yeah, it's right in the middle. I was a little worried about that. It's probably about a 1/16 of an inch. Little wobble. I don't know if you can see that. It's probably a good 1/16 of an inch right there in the middle. Yeah, it's like a high spot in the middle. I was a little worried about that when I was heating it up, welding it. Like I say, I may go back and hit some of those welds right there in the center. All these spots here, I'm gonna do them all right down the middle and see if that kind of heats up the table enough to shrink it down. It'll tend to suck down a little bit when I do that. That's going to be the spot for it, but all this crap's going away. All this stuff's going to move out. This is going to sit against the wall so I can roll it out when I want to. I'm going to put a plug attachment on the wall so I can run all my grinders off the wall or off the ceiling. And then 4x8 plasma table. And 4x8 on the other table, so I got plenty to work on. I'll start welding all this up down the middle. And hopefully, like I say, it'll shrink the metal up just enough to get that 1/8" bow or 1/16" bow out of the middle.
I also forgot to mention this table is made by Metal Fab Guys. I actually came across them on Facebook, but I looked them up. They seem to be pretty good. When they shipped when I ordered the unit, it probably took about a week to get to me, and about 3 days after I ordered it, they shipped it. So the rest of the time was shipping. It shipped on a freight truck, so you would have to have a way to unload it, because the truck that came here, luckily I had the skid steer with forks, because when it came, I had to go down the road and pick it up. It was 1,100 pounds sitting on a pallet flat that all he had was a pallet jack to pull to the back of the trailer, and it was a regular enclosed 53-foot trailer. So yeah, look, they didn't ask me anything about that when I ordered it, but I already knew I had the skid steer, so I wasn't really worried. But that is something to keep in mind when you order this table. You got to have a way to unload it and get it to where you need to get it. So, but yeah, we'll get you on the next video. All right, thank you.